Hello, my name is John Osborne. I am your student's world history teacher. And I want to do a quick video just to give a little bit of information about myself so that when we do our parent-teacher conferences this week, we can kind of skip some of those formalities in order to be more efficient. We only have 5 minutes and it's going to be pretty tightly scheduled. I'm not allowed to run over because there's going to be a family right behind that is expecting that time slot. I will be sending out an email with a link for this video, as well as the link to the Google Meet where you guys can have your conference with me. All right, so a little bit about me. This is my 5th year teaching at Fairview High School. My very first teaching job was at Huadong Shifan Daxue, East China Normal University in Shanghai, China. I taught there for 1 year. I was actually an English professor, if you want to call it that, right out of undergrad. And then I went into industry, and I was in industry for a number of years. I worked in welding supply warehouses. I mean, as a shift supervisor at Dunkin' Donuts in the pharmaceutical industry for a while. I just bounced around with a career. So I'm probably one of the few teachers that can drive a forklift, has actually managed a warehouse of personnel, about 40 people, as well as taught. So just a slightly different background for me, perhaps. But I did join Fairview about 5 years ago as the last Chinese language instructor, as well as social studies. And as a round down the Chinese language program, I became full-time social studies, and this is where I am. Good. I have married, have 2 daughters, 5 years old and 2 years old. My oldest is in kindergarten, learning how to read off an iPad, thanks to our COVID situation. And my youngest is making sure that's as disrupted as a process as possible, as was evidenced upstairs this morning while I was trying to get some grading done. So, and also welcome to my basement, washer and dryer behind me. Might actually hang that painting by the time we have our parent-teacher conferences tonight. Maybe, we'll see. So our reality is that I'll be finishing out the rest of the semester teaching from right here in my basement. The expectation of class is that your students do show up. They show up on time. They have all been invited to a meeting scheduled in their linked in their calendar for school. They can also contact me as their instructor, and I can provide that link to them. At this point, I have students that are going to be showing up. And then there may be times when I allow them to work independently, or as the district likes to call it, asynchronous time. And most of the time we'll have a check-in within 5 minutes left in class. They're having a few days where I'm like, work on your own and send them off. I mostly have done that. I did that last Friday so that I could have one-on-one check-ins with students about grades and other performance issues. And so I needed to have them, they kind of wait in the main room, do the assigned task, and then I would link them into a separate Google Meet so that we could have kind of like a hallway one-on-one conversation. I really did enjoy getting to meet a lot of your students in person briefly. I think about 3 weeks, so I saw them 3 times. They can still torture me for the rest of my time teaching, saying hi to me in the hallways because I've taught them. I know many things about them, but I don't think I could recognize most of your students, especially with the mask on. A few of my students from first quarter definitely took me up on that offer and were torturing me as they would walk by my classroom and say, "Hey, Mr. Osborne," like, "I don't know you," because they would, if they ever had their cameras on while we were fully home learning, I can't recognize with the masks at all. Anyways, so I do have the daily classes, and it's going to be fully virtual. I use Schoology as my learning management system. The district pushes that. I know some teachers still embrace Google Classroom. There are certain efficiencies with Google Classroom, but I went ahead and drank the Kool-Aid, and I'm sticking with what the district wants. And I have everything divided into weeks. So if you are all, as guardians and parents, signed up for Schoology automatically, how to access it, I'm not familiar from the parent's perspective. I do know that you do have access. Excellent. And so when you go in, you'll see materials divided by week. I started at week 0 because we didn't cover actual content the very first week, and we are about to start on week 4. And including the week before Thanksgiving and the 3 weeks after, we have 4 weeks left of instruction, and that is it. What I have done is I have just been very intentional with what I teach, and we've finished up the Industrial Revolution. We did a case study of the Japanese Meiji Restoration, which was essentially their industrialization process. I think my dog's coming downstairs. Maybe I can edit that out. Who knows? Oh, never mind. My daughters are home. This could get disrupted very quickly. We'll see if I continue this video all the way through. All right, so I use Schoology, weekly plans. We have a couple of major assignments for the entire term coming up. The first thing is that your students are doing a one-on-one conversation with me in a format very similar to this. And I do record those conversations for liability reasons because it is a private one-on-one interaction with the student. And that's worth 50 points. They show up, they talk to me, I ask them 3 questions. It takes less than, most of the time it takes about 10 minutes. We schedule in 15-minute chunks of time, and they're given 50 points in compensation for their time. All right, so that is one major task. The way they get that scheduled is they reach out to me. I send them a calendar invite, and then they attend. It's worked very well for everyone that's made the effort so far. Another major assignment that's coming up is I will not be doing a final exam or quizzes or tests. I can't control them. I'm sure your students would not cheat, but because I cannot certify that they are not cheating, I'm just not going to do it. And so, especially with the social studies curriculum, it's you can easily look up the answer, and even if I constricted what they could use on their device at the time that they take the test, they can just pull out their phone. I would never know, and it's just not equitable. It's not fair. Therefore, I'm not doing a final exam, a high stakes test. In its place, we are going to do a research paper each semester. The research paper second semester is a full-length research paper. And this quarter, we were actually going to just be doing a annotated and an expanded outline. I discussed details of those assignments last Friday, and we'll be working on the annotation aspect of that this week, as well as looking into 19th century European imperialism, which is our topic. And we'll be focusing a lot on the Congo this week. The goal is to get all the way up to the precipice, if you will, of World War I. So we probably won't start World War I. We're going to look at all the dynamics and factors that pushed into World War I, and that would allow us to come back after winter break, dust off the dendrites, if you will, and re-engage with the learning. And then we're going to pick up with World War I, leading into World War II, and I'll focus a little bit on China and its modernization efforts with Tiananmen, with Chairman Mao and all that stuff. We hopefully will be able to discuss a little bit, not so much the Cold War, because that involves the U.S. I try to maintain a lot of my content away from the United States history. So we won't be covering as much in the Cold War, but we'll talk about the decolonization process if we have time. And then we, ideally can look at the events of 9/11 and what has transpired after that point. That's a pretty big task. I'm not sure if we'll get that far, but that's our goal for next semester. All right, I digress. Going back to the major assignment, they will be doing a larger research proposal in some ways. So an outline of a paper, they have their topic, they have their sources, and that'll be worth 100 points, and that'll be in lieu of a final exam. Beyond that, regular assignments are discussion questions. And so they'll have 2 discussion questions per week. They've been maintaining those. In a lot of ways, those are participation points. They are not, do you know the answer type questions, but rather they are, I want you to share with me your thought process on the topic that we're learning. So if you can share with me your thought process, and you do it on time, and you respond to your classmates as is directed in the assignment, you'll get 5 points, 5 out of 5. And there's a lot of those, and so that makes up a portion of the grade. Then we also have what I'm calling quick writes, so small little essays. These are in place of these quizzes and tests that we would normally have. They're about 25 points on average. And it's an essay. It's a formal academic essay, and they're prompted, and they have to complete the task. And that, that's some of the work that they demonstrate for me. Beyond that, I use as many tools as possible with home learning. We had a primary source analysis with letters between the President of the United States and Japan during the opening process of Japan. So that was last week. That's just an example of something we do. So they had those primary sources. They had a series of questions that they responded to. and they were formed as a discussion post so that they could talk to their classmates, engage in that. Hi, Lydia.
Hi.
You got a sucker.
Bubble gum.
Nice. All right, I'm talking right now, okay? All right. So discussion questions. So last week we had that type of assignments. I've done worksheets where they kind of have to take notes as I'm presenting on my slides, and they turn those in for credit. It's just, it seems like busy work, but I can really only grade busy work. I can't see them. I can't do group projects. We're still going to attempt a group project after Thanksgiving, but it's more complicated in this reality. So I hope that answers a lot of the questions that you might have regarding my class. And again, trying to make everything a little bit more efficient for our conferences tonight. Like, subscribe. No, just kidding. I'm not an influencer, if you can't tell. And I will see many of you tonight or the rest of this week for parent teacher conferences. Thank you. Bye.